Shut up, kid! Get your filthy hands off my plane! Before I snap every finger you've got!
A white pilot screams at a 19-year-old black boy on a military airfield. Everyone watches. Nobody moves.
Look at you, busted shoes, ashy skin, smelling like garbage. Your crackhead daddy never taught you where you don't belong.
Austin holds his ground.
No. Sir, there's a crack in your left.
Boy, the only thing cracking is your brain.
Security grabs Austin's arm, but he reaches into his back pocket, pulls out a brass hammer, old, scarred, 2 initials on the handle, and taps the wing. Once. Dead. Flat. Hollow. Crawford's laughter dies. His face drops. How does a boy from a trailer park hear what $1 million system missed? That single tap just saved 200 lives and ended one man's career. God. That tap didn't come from nowhere. Behind that sound is a dead father and a boy who refused to forget. 3 days earlier, Davis County, Alabama. The kind of place the rest of America drives through without stopping. Cotton fields stretch flat to the horizon. The air smells like red clay and diesel. A 2-lane road splits the land in half. On one side, Pinewood Acres Trailer Park. On the other, a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire surrounding Skyvault Aviation's private airfield. 2 worlds, 1 fence between them. Inside the smallest trailer in Pinewood Acres, Austin Bennett is awake before the sun. 19 years old, broad-shouldered but thin from meals that come once or twice a day. He sits on a mattress on the floor, surrounded by library books, aerodynamics, metal fatigue, composite structures. A laptop with a cracked screen plays a YouTube lecture on wing spar load distribution. Most 19-year-olds in Davis County are working gas stations or stocking shelves at the Dollar General. Austin is teaching himself how aircraft die. Beside him sits a battered leather toolbox stamped with gold initials. J.B. He opens it the way some people open a Bible. Carefully. Reverently. Inside, wrenches, calipers, inspection mirrors, and one tool he never lets go of. A brass-headed tap hammer, small enough to fit in a back pocket, heavy enough to find the truth hidden inside metal. His father's hands wore the grip smooth. Now Austin's hands are doing the same. He picks up the hammer and holds it to a radio-controlled airplane he's been rebuilding. A junk shop find with a cracked wing spar he repaired himself. He taps the wing. Ping! Clear, bright, clean. The metal is sound. He nods the way his father used to nod. His grandmother's voice cuts through the quiet. Austin, breakfast! Eleanor Bennett stands in the kitchen doorway. 68 years old, built like a woman who has buried a son and kept standing. She works double shifts, cleaning office buildings on the far side of the county. Her knees ache. Her back aches. She never complains. She watches Austin tuck the hammer into his back pocket the way James used to, and something crosses her face. Pride, braided tight with grief. You look more like your daddy every day, she says. That scares me and makes me proud in equal measure. Austin kisses her forehead, grabs a biscuit, and heads outside. He rides his bike along the fence line the way he has every morning for the past 2 years. Through the chain link, he can see Skyvault's compound, 3 hangars, a small control tower, a runway smooth enough to land a dream on. For months, he has watched trucks deliver parts for their prototype, the SV-1. He has memorized tail numbers, shift changes, delivery schedules, not because anyone asked him to, because his mind won't stop. Next to the active hangars sits an abandoned one, Hangar 6. Rusted doors, broken windows, decommissioned aircraft rotting inside. Austin found a gap in the fence 8 months ago. He has spent hundreds of hours in that hangar, running his hands over old airframes, tapping every surface, teaching himself the difference between healthy metal and dying metal. No classroom, no teacher, just a dead man's hammer and a living man's hunger.
This morning, something is different. Black SUVs line the entrance. Men in dress uniforms step out. A convoy of equipment trucks rolls past the gate. Austin grips the fence and watches. Something big is coming. Inside Skyvault's executive boardroom, that something has a price tag. $340 million. Victor Hadley, the company's CEO, stands at the head of the table, 56, silver-haired, expensive suit, the kind of calm that hides calculation. The Pentagon has sent General Richard Cole to observe the SV-1's final test flight. If the flight succeeds, the contract is signed. If it fails, Skyvault is finished. There is no margin for error, Hadley tells his team. None. Captain Lance Crawford enters in his flight suit. Chest out, chin up. The walk of a man who expects applause. Relax, Victor. The bird is ready. I'll have Cole eating out of our hands by sundown. In the corner of the room, a young woman reviews data on her tablet. Sarah Williams, 29, junior structural engineer, 3 months on the job. Her brow furrows. A stress point diagram of the left wing fills her screen. One zone over the flap bracket glows amber. Not red, not green. Amber. Uncertain. She opens her mouth to speak. Then she looks around the room. At Crawford's confidence, at Hadley's authority, at the uniforms and the money and the pressure. And she closes it. She is the youngest person in that room. She is the newest hire. She stays quiet. 3 days from now, that silence will almost kill a man. The day before the test flight, Austin slips through the gap in the fence just after noon, when the Alabama heat drives the ground crew indoors for lunch. He heads for Hangar 6, his usual route, but today the rusted doors are wide open. Skyvault is using the overflow space to stage equipment for tomorrow's demonstration. Crates of tools, spare parts, fuel line assemblies, all stacked along the walls. Austin ducks behind a parts crate and holds his breath. From here, he has a clean line of sight to the SV-1 parked just outside on the apron. 2 mechanics work under the left wing, running through the flap linkage assembly. Austin watches the way a hawk watches a field, still, patient, catching everything. The senior mechanic reaches for an electric torque wrench. Fast, efficient. He zips through the flap bracket bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, barely pausing between them. Austin's eyes narrow. His father's notebook, the one he has read so many times, the pages are soft as cloth, says it clearly on page 44, underlined 3 times. After electric torque, always verify manually. Always. That mechanic skipped it. Every single bolt. Austin waits until the crew leaves for lunch. The tarmac goes quiet. Just heat, silence, and the ticking of hot metal. He walks to the wing. His heart pounds, but his hands are steady. He places his palm flat on the underside of the left wing, near the flap hinge assembly. He closes his eyes. He feels the surface, temperature, texture, the faintest vibration of metal at rest. Then he pulls the tap hammer from his back pocket. He taps the first bracket. Ping! Clean, bright, good metal. Second bracket. Ping! Same tone. Healthy. Third bracket. Inboard hinge. He taps. Thunk. His stomach drops. That sound, dull, dead, swallowed, is the sound of metal that has already begun to die. Microfractures spreading along the grain boundary, invisible to the eye, screaming to the ear. His father called it the coffin note. If you hear it, something is already too late to ignore. He taps again. Thunk. Same spot. Same death. Austin pulls out his phone. Cracked screen, prepaid, barely holding a charge, and photographs the bracket. The image is blurry, but he marks the exact bolt position in his father's notebook. Left wing, flap bracket number 3, inboard hinge. Possible fatigue failure. Confirmed by tap test. His handwriting looks like his father's. He doesn't notice. He knows what this means. If that bracket fails at speed, at the kind of speed a combat demonstration requires, the flap tears away. The wing rolls. The aircraft becomes a coffin with an engine. Whoever is sitting in that cockpit does not come home. Austin makes a decision. He cannot walk away. He steps out onto the active tarmac, into the open, in full view of the security cameras. He approaches the first mechanic he sees, a heavy-set man wiping grease from his hands. "Excuse me, sir. I think there's a problem with the left wing flap bracket. I did a tap test. The tone is dead at bracket 3. It could be fatigue cracking." The mechanic stares at him. A 19-year-old black kid in worn sneakers and a faded shirt, holding a brass hammer, talking about tap tests on a restricted military site. The mechanic doesn't even blink before he starts laughing. He calls over 2 co-workers. They laugh harder. "Where'd you come from, kid? The junkyard next door?" "Sir, I'm serious. If you just check." "Check what? Your head? Go home, boy." The noise draws Dale Perkins, head of airfield security. Ex-cop, thick neck, no patience. He grabs Austin by the arm, hard enough to bruise. "You're trespassing on a restricted military evaluation site. You know I can have you locked up for this." Austin tries to explain. He holds up the phone, the photograph. Perkins doesn't even glance at the screen. He starts dragging Austin toward the gate. The commotion pulls Captain Lance Crawford out of the pilot's lounge. He walks over with the slow confidence of a man who has never been wrong about anything in his entire life. He looks Austin up and down. Shoes, shirt, skin. The way someone examines something stuck to the bottom of their boot. "Who let this kid on my runway?" "Sir, please listen. There's a fatigue crack in the left flap bracket. If you fly tomorrow..." Crawford cuts him off. "Listen to me carefully, son. I've got 4,000 flight hours, a degree from the Naval Academy, and a Medal of Distinction hanging on my wall. You've got a junkyard hammer and a pair of shoes that are falling apart." He leans in close. "Shut your mouth, turn around, and don't ever let me see your face on this airfield again." Austin doesn't move. "I'm not leaving until somebody checks that wing." Crawford's eyes go cold. "Perkins, get him out. Now." 2 security guards grab Austin's arms. He struggles. His father's notebook falls from his hand. Pages scatter across the tarmac. Handwritten diagrams, calculations, 10 years of a dead man's knowledge blowing in the wind. A mechanic steps on one page without looking down. They throw Austin out through the main gate. He lands on gravel. His palms split open. Blood mixes with Alabama dirt. Through the fence, he watches a mechanic pick up his father's notebook, glance at it, and toss it into a trash bin like it's nothing. Crawford's voice carries through the chain link. "Somebody tell that kid's mama to put him on a leash." The crew laughs. From a second-floor window in the engineering building, Sarah Williams watches the entire scene. She sees the notebook hit the trash. She sees the boy on the gravel, palms bleeding, not crying, not screaming, just staring through the fence with a look she recognizes. Not anger, not defeat, certainty. She looks down at her tablet. The amber warning on the flap bracket is still there. It hasn't changed. It hasn't gone away. And now, a boy she has never met just confirmed what her own data has been whispering for weeks. She says nothing. She closes the tablet. She walks back to her desk. but she does not forget his face.
Man, this makes my blood boil. A kid tries to save a man's life and gets thrown in the dirt for it. His father's notebook, tossed in the trash like garbage. Now imagine that's your son on that gravel. Your father's legacy in that trash can. How would you feel? Night falls on Pinewood Acres. The trailer park goes quiet. Just crickets, a distant dog, and the hum of a window unit fighting the Alabama heat. Austin sits on the front steps of the trailer. His palms are wrapped in strips of an old bedsheet Eleanor tore up for him. The gravel cuts sting, but that is not what hurts. What hurts is the notebook. His father's handwriting, his father's decades of knowledge, sitting in a trash bin on a runway he is no longer allowed to touch. The screen door creaks. Eleanor steps out. She looks at his hands. She looks at his face. She doesn't ask if he's okay. She can see he's not. She sits beside him. Tell me. Austin tells her everything. The dead sound, Bracket 3, the mechanic who laughed, Crawford's words, the notebook in the trash. He speaks quietly, the way people speak when they are holding something inside that might break if they push too hard. Eleanor listens without interrupting. When he finishes, she is silent for a long time. Then she stands, walks inside, and comes back holding something wrapped in a faded cloth. She unfolds it. Inside, a laminated card and a photograph. The card is James Bennett's Boeing Employee Certification. Level 3 NDT, Non-Destructive Testing, Structures Division. The photograph shows James standing beside a 737 wing, tap hammer in hand, smiling the way a man smiles when he is doing exactly what he was born to do. Eleanor places them in Austin's hands. Your daddy tried to do the right thing too. He went to his bosses. He filed reports. He begged them to listen. They told him to shut up. They told him he was nobody. Then they fired him. Her voice is steady, but her eyes are wet. He was right, Austin. He was always right. And they destroyed him for it. She grips his shoulder. You go back tomorrow, but this time you don't ask. You don't beg. You show them. You make them see what your father saw. What you see. Austin looks at the certification card. His father's photo stares back. The same jawline, the same steady eyes. He nods. Eleanor goes to bed. Austin does not. He sits on the floor with the toolbox open and his father's surviving notes spread around him. Photocopies he made years ago. Pages he saved on his phone. Diagrams he redrew from memory. He works through the night, tracing the exact failure pattern he found on Bracket 3. And then, on a dog-eared page near the back of a copied section, he finds something that stops his breathing. His father's handwriting, neat and deliberate. Reported flat bracket fatigue pattern to chief engineer and subcontractor liaison, Victor Hadley, Boeing Program Office, March 2016. Response: non-critical. No action taken. Austin reads the name 3 times. Victor Hadley. The same Victor Hadley who now runs Skyvault Aviation. The same man who stood in that boardroom today and demanded 0 margin for error. The same man whose company built the SV-1. With the same flaw, on the same bracket, in the same position that James Bennett warned about 10 years ago. His father found this defect a decade ago. He reported it. He was ignored. He was fired. He died 2 years later in a car accident, broken and discredited. And now his son is sitting on a trailer floor at 2 a.m, looking at proof that the man who silenced his father is about to let the same mistake kill again. Austin's hands shake, not from fear, from clarity. Across the airfield, in a small apartment she rents by the month, Sarah Williams is not sleeping either. She sits at her kitchen table, laptop open, running the wing stress simulation for the 4th time. The amber zone on bracket 3 has not changed. Not better, not worse. Just sitting there, uncertain, waiting. She opens her email. The reply from her supervisor is still on screen. Simulations within tolerance. Do not escalate. Flight is on schedule. She thinks about the boy on the tarmac, the way he stood his ground, the notebook in the trash. She makes a decision, small, quiet, the kind no one notices until later. Tomorrow morning, before the test flight, she will go to that trash bin. She will take the notebook. She doesn't know what she'll do with it yet, but she knows it doesn't belong in the garbage. Outside Austin's trailer, the airfield lights glow behind the fence like a dare. Tomorrow, everything changes. The question is whether anyone will let a 19-year-old black kid be the one to change it. Morning. The day of the test flight. The airfield wakes up electric. Skyvault crew swarm the tarmac. Mechanics running final checks, technicians calibrating instruments, PR staff adjusting banners that read, Skyvault Aviation, the future of American defense. 2 television crews set up cameras near the runway. A catering truck unloads coffee and pastries for the VIPs. At 9:15, General Richard Cole's motorcade rolls through the main gate. 3 black SUVs, American flags on the hoods. Cole steps out. 60 years old, silver crew cut, posture like a steel beam. He shakes Hadley's hand, nods at Crawford, scans the aircraft with the eyes of a man who has seen machines fail and men die inside them. He does not smile. He is not here to celebrate. He is here to decide whether this aircraft is worth $340 million of the American taxpayers' money. Crawford stands beside the SV-1 in a fresh flight suit, helmet tucked under his arm, every inch the hero shot. He answers reporters' questions with rehearsed charm. She handles like a dream, smoothest bird I've ever flown. Cameras flash. He grins. 2 miles away, Austin Bennett pedals his bicycle down the county road. He wears his cleanest shirt, a white button-down Eleanor ironed at 5 in the morning. His backpack holds his father's certification card, the Boeing badge, the tap hammer, and every page of notes he compiled overnight. His palms still sting under the bandages, but his grip on the handlebars does not waver. Eleanor watches him from the trailer window. Her hands are clasped. Her lips move without sound. Austin does not go to the main gate. He knows what waits there. Perkins, cameras, a trespassing charge. Instead, he takes his usual route to the gap in the fence behind Hangar 6. He slides through. The abandoned hangar is empty today. All equipment moved to the active apron for the demonstration. He crosses the concrete floor quickly, staying low, heading for the far exit that opens onto the back of the tarmac. He makes it 40 yards past Hangar 6 before a voice barks behind him. "Stop right there!" Dale Perkins. 2 guards flanking him. Perkins grabs the radio on his shoulder. "I got the kid again. North side, behind Hangar 6. Austin doesn't run. He stands straight, backpack on his shoulders, and speaks clearly. The left wing flap bracket 3 has fatigue cracking. If that plane takes off today, the pilot dies. I need 60 seconds to prove it. Perkins doesn't hear a word. He hears a trespasser. He grabs Austin's arm, the same bruise from yesterday, and starts marching him toward the gate. Austin shouts. He doesn't care who hears. "The left wing is going to fail! Bracket 3! Check Bracket 3! Somebody listen to me! His voice carries across the tarmac. Heads turn. Mechanics look up. A cameraman swings his lens toward the commotion. And Captain Lance Crawford, mid-sentence with a reporter, turns and sees the one face he told never to come back. His expression darkens like a thunderhead. He strides over. "You have got to be kidding me." Crawford stands over Austin, jaw tight. "I told you yesterday, I don't want to see your face on this field. Perkins, get him off my runway. Call the sheriff if you have to." "Captain Crawford, if you fly today, you will die." Austin's voice does not crack. "Bracket 3, inboard hinge. The metal is fatigued. I heard it. My father documented the same failure 10 years ago." "Your father?" Crawford laughs. "Your father is dead, kid, and whatever fantasy he put in your head died with him." The words land like a fist. Austin's jaw tightens. His eyes burn. But he does not look away. And then, a voice from behind Crawford. "Wait." Sarah Williams steps forward from the edge of the crowd. She is holding something in her hands, a notebook, dirt-stained, pages bent, pulled from a trash bin at 6 o'clock this morning. James Bennett's notebook. Crawford turns. "Williams, what are you doing?" Sarah's voice is unsteady, but she pushes through it. "Captain Crawford, I reviewed the wing stress simulation data again last night. There's an amber indication on the left flap bracket, the same area this man flagged yesterday." She holds up the notebook. "And this is not trash. These are structural engineering notes, detailed ones, from someone who knew what they were looking at." Crawford's face reddens. "You've been here 3 months, Williams. You don't have the authority or the experience to delay this flight. Stand down." Hadley appears at Crawford's shoulder. Calm, controlled, dangerous. "Sarah, we discussed this. The simulations are within tolerance. This flight goes as scheduled. Don't throw away your career over a boy with a hammer." The threat is quiet, but clear. Sarah hesitates. She looks at Austin. Austin looks at her. He reaches into his backpack and holds up the laminated certification card. "My father was James Bennett, Level 3 NDT certified, Boeing Structures Division. He found this exact flaw on the 737 line in 2016. He reported it." Austin turns to face Hadley directly. "He reported it to you, Mr. Hadley." The tarmac goes silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence that has weight. Hadley's face does something it has never done in public. It freezes. For 2 seconds, maybe 3, Victor Hadley, the man who controls every room he walks into, has no words. General Richard Cole has been standing 15 feet away, watching everything. He has not spoken. He has not moved. But now he steps forward, and when a 2-star general steps forward, the ground itself seems to shift. "What did the boy just say?" Hadley recovers. "General, this is a trespasser, a kid from the trailer park across the road. He has no credentials, no clearance." "I didn't ask who he is." Cole's voice is quiet, but it carries the weight of 35 years of command. "I asked what he said." He turns to Austin. "Son, you said your father reported a structural flaw to this man 10 years ago. You said the same flaw is in that wing right now. Is that correct?" "Yes, sir." Cole looks at the certification card. He looks at the notebook in Sarah's hands. He looks at the SV-1 sitting on the runway, fueled, armed with data, ready to fly. Then he looks at Crawford, who is clenching his helmet so hard his knuckles have gone white. "Captain, in my 35 years in the Air Force, the people who get ignored are usually the ones worth hearing." He pauses.
Give the boy 60 seconds. Crawford opens his mouth. Hadley steps forward. Cole raises one hand, palm flat, fingers steady. The gesture of a man who is not asking. 60 seconds. Now. 60 seconds. That is all Austin Bennett has. 60 seconds to prove what no one on this airfield wants to believe. That a 19-year-old black kid from a trailer park knows more about this wing than every engineer, mechanic, and pilot standing on this tarmac combined. The crowd parts, not because anyone tells them to, because something in the air has shifted. The laughter is gone. The jokes are gone. Every eye on the field is locked on the boy walking toward the wing of a $40 million aircraft with a brass hammer in his hand. Austin's shoes crunch on the asphalt. The sound is the only thing moving. Crawford stands rigid, arms crossed, jaw locked. The posture of a man watching someone touch something sacred. Hadley has his phone in his hand, ready to call legal the moment this is over. Sarah Williams stands at the edge of the crowd, clutching James Bennett's notebook against her chest. General Cole watches with his hands behind his back, expression unreadable. Austin reaches the left wing. He places his palm flat against the surface, the same way he did in the trailer park on his RC plane, the same way his father taught him when he was 9 years old. He feels the temperature of the metal. He feels the texture. He closes his eyes for 1 second, and when he opens them, his hand is already moving toward bracket 1. He taps. Bing! Clear, bright, ringing, healthy metal singing back at him like a bell. He moves on without hesitation. Bracket 2. He taps. Ping! Same tone, same clarity. He nods once, a small, automatic gesture he inherited from a man who is no longer alive to see it. He slides his hand to bracket 3. Inboard hinge. The spot he found yesterday. The spot his father documented a decade ago. He pauses. Not for drama, not for effect. He pauses because what comes next will change everything. And some part of him, the 19-year-old part that still misses his dad, needs one breath before he proves the whole world wrong. He looks at Crawford. The pilot's eyes are hard, waiting, daring him to fail. Austin taps. Thunk. The sound rolls across the tarmac like a stone dropping into a still pond. Flat, dead, hollow. Not metal singing, metal dying. The difference between ping and thunk is the difference between flying and falling, between landing and a funeral. A mechanic near the nose wheel whispers, "Jesus." Austin taps again, slower this time, letting the sound breathe, letting everyone hear it. Thunk. Crawford's arms uncross. His jaw loosens. The color in his face shifts. Red to white, confidence to doubt, certainty to something he has never worn before in his life. Fear. Austin speaks. Quiet. Steady. Not to the crowd, not to the cameras, directly to the man who told him to shut up. That's the sound of a bracket that's going to kill you at 400 knots, Captain. General Cole doesn't wait. He turns to the Skyvault chief engineer. Ground that aircraft. I want an emergency ultrasonic inspection on that bracket, right now, on this tarmac. Nobody leaves. The field erupts. Engineers scramble. Equipment is wheeled out. Crawford stands frozen beside the wing, staring at the spot Austin tapped, as if he can see through the metal to the fracture beneath. While the inspection team sets up their ultrasonic probes, Cole pulls Austin aside. He examines the certification card. He pages through the notebook Sarah recovered, James Bennett's handwriting, detailed, precise. diagram after diagram of flap bracket stress patterns. Cole makes a phone call. Short, direct. Within minutes, a Pentagon records clerk confirms what Austin already knows. James Bennett, employee ID 88-5124, Boeing Structures Division, filed a formal safety disclosure in March 2016 regarding flap bracket fatigue on the 737 production line. The disclosure was received, classified as non-critical, archived. No action was ever taken. James Bennett was terminated 6 months later. Cole closes his phone. He looks at Austin for a long time. Your father was a whistleblower. My father was right. Austin's voice doesn't waver. He was right, and nobody listened, and he spent the rest of his life carrying that. The ultrasonic results come back. The chief engineer reads them aloud, and his voice cracks halfway through. Bracket 3, inboard hinge, confirmed fatigue cracking along grain boundary. Crack length, 14 millimeters. Estimated failure under high G loading, immediate. If Crawford had flown today, if he had pulled that 6G combat maneuver at 420 knots the way the demonstration profile required, the bracket would have sheared. The flap would have torn free. The aircraft would have rolled at an altitude too low to recover. Lance Crawford would be dead, and Austin Bennett would have been the only person who tried to stop it. The tarmac should be celebrating. The crack has been found. The pilot is alive. The truth is out. But Victor Hadley is not a man who loses. He stands inside Hangar 2, door half closed, phone pressed to his ear. His legal team is on one end. His PR director is on the other. Crawford and Perkins stand beside him, waiting for instructions. Hadley's voice is low, controlled. The voice of a man who has spent 30 years making problems disappear. Here's what's going to happen, he says, ending the call. He turns to Perkins. File a formal trespassing complaint with the county sheriff. Criminal trespass on a restricted military evaluation site. That's a felony in this state. I want that kid in handcuffs within the hour. Perkins nods. No hesitation. He reaches for his radio. Hadley turns to Crawford. Lance, you say nothing to the press. Nothing. If anyone asks, the flight was postponed due to routine recalibration. The boy is a mentally unstable trespasser who got lucky. Crawford opens his mouth, then closes it. 30 minutes ago, he was ready to fly that aircraft into the sky. 30 minutes ago, he was one takeoff away from dying inside it. And the only reason he is standing here breathing is a kid he called a street roach. But Crawford has spent his whole life following the chain of command. He nods. Hadley's final call is to his chief engineer. Replace bracket 3. Now. Pull the old one, put in a new one, and make sure the cracked bracket goes into the metal recycling bin before anyone from the Pentagon gets a close look at it. The chief engineer hesitates. Mr. Hadley, General Cole ordered the bracket preserved as, I don't work for General Cole. I work for this company. Replace it. That's an order. The engineer walks away with the look of a man who knows he is crossing a line and cannot find the courage to stop. Hadley straightens his tie. He steps back onto the tarmac with the calm smile of a CEO in full control. But behind that smile, the gears are turning. Discredit the boy. Destroy the evidence. Control the narrative. He has done this before. He did it 10 years ago with James Bennett. And James Bennett is not alive to contradict him. But James Bennett's son is. Outside, on the edge of the tarmac, Austin stands with Sarah Williams. He doesn't know what's happening inside Hangar 2. He doesn't know about the phone calls, the felony charge, the order to destroy the bracket. He only knows that the inspection confirmed what he found. And for the first time in his life, someone in authority, General Cole, actually listened. Then the sheriff's cruiser pulls through the gate. Two deputies step out. They walk directly toward Austin. One rests his hand on his belt. The other carries paperwork. Austin Bennett? Yes, sir. You're being detained on a charge of criminal trespass on a restricted federal evaluation site. Turn around, please. Austin doesn't move. Not out of defiance, out of disbelief. He just saved a man's life. He just proved a fatal flaw in a military prototype. And now he's being arrested for it. Sir, I didn't. I was trying to help. The wing.
Turn around, hands behind your back. The deputy reaches for Austin's wrist. And that is when Eleanor Bennett arrives. She took a bus to the county line, then walked 2 miles in the heat. Her cleaning uniform is dark with sweat. Her shoes are worn flat. She is 68 years old, and she moves through that crowd like a woman half her age. Because there is no force on earth that moves faster than a grandmother who sees her grandchild in danger. Don't you touch him! Eleanor steps between Austin and the deputies. Her voice rings across the tarmac. This boy just saved a man's life. He found what your engineers couldn't find. And you're putting handcuffs on him? Ma'am, we have a signed complaint. Criminal trespass. Please step aside. I will not step aside. I stepped aside when they did this to his father. I will not do it again. The television cameras are rolling. Every lens on the field is pointed at this moment. A black grandmother in a cleaning uniform, shielding her grandson from deputies, on a military airfield where the boy just found a crack that would have killed a pilot. The image is devastating. It will be on every screen in America by nightfall. Sarah Williams watches from the hangar doorway. Her hands are shaking. She looks at the notebook she pulled from the trash. James Bennett's life work. She looks at Austin in front of the deputies. She looks at Hadley, who is watching from across the tarmac with the satisfied calm of a man whose plan is working. Sarah makes a decision. She walks to her car. She opens her laptop. She uploads everything. The wing stress simulation data, the amber warning, her unanswered email to her supervisor, the screenshots, the timestamps, to a secure personal drive. Then she copies it to a USB stick and puts it in her pocket. If Hadley buries the evidence, she will have a copy. And she will use it. On the tarmac, the standoff continues. The deputies move around Eleanor, reaching for Austin's arm. Austin does not resist. He knows resisting makes it worse. Every black kid in Alabama knows that. He turns. He puts his hands behind his back. He feels the cold metal of the cuff touch his wrist. And then a voice cuts through the noise like a blade through paper. Officers, stand down. General Richard Cole walks across the tarmac. Not fast, not slow. The walk of a man who has commanded air wings, signed billion-dollar contracts, and buried pilots who trusted equipment that should have been grounded. When he reaches the deputies, he does not raise his voice. He does not need to. I'm General Richard Cole, United States Air Force, Pentagon Acquisitions Division. That young man is not a trespasser. As of this moment, he is a material witness in a federal safety investigation. Remove the cuffs. Now. The deputies freeze. A county sheriff's complaint versus a 2-star general on a military evaluation site. They look at each other. They look at the cameras. They remove the cuffs. Cole turns. He does not look at the deputies. He looks directly at Victor Hadley, who is standing 50 feet away with a smile that is starting to crack. Mr. Hadley, I am ordering an immediate independent inspection of the SV-1. Every bracket, every bolt, every weld. And I want the cracked bracket from the left wing preserved as physical evidence in a federal safety inquiry. He pauses. If I find out that bracket has been replaced, tampered with, or disposed of in any way, I will personally ensure that Skyvault Aviation never receives another government contract. Not tomorrow, not ever. Am I clear?
Hadley's smile dies. Completely. Because 10 minutes ago, he gave the order to replace that bracket, and his chief engineer is probably halfway through the job right now. Hadley pulls out his phone. His hands. The hands that have signed contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The hands that have never trembled in a boardroom are shaking. He dials the chief engineer. Stop. Don't touch the bracket. Leave it exactly where it is. Too late. The engineer has already removed 2 of the 4 mounting bolts. But the bracket is still attached. Barely. The evidence survives by minutes. 2 hours later, a helicopter touches down on the runway. Independent Air Force structural engineers step out, carrying ultrasonic scanners, X-ray equipment, and the kind of authority that no CEO can override. General Cole invites Austin to observe the inspection, personally. Not as a visitor, not as a witness, as a consultant.
Austin sits on a folding chair beside the wing, the tap hammer resting in his lap. He watches professionals use machines worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what he did with a piece of brass and 10 years of his father's teaching. The results come in one by one. Flap bracket 3. Fatigue cracking confirmed. 14 millimeters. Critical. Bracket 5. Early stage fatigue. Not critical yet, but 6 months from failure. Bracket 8. Same pattern. Same cause.
Root cause.
Skyvault had been using uncertified torque wrenches to accelerate production. Bolt tension across the flap assembly was inconsistent. Some over-torqued, some under-torqued. A systematic failure born from cutting corners to meet a deadline that should never have been set. The SV-1 is grounded. Permanently. The $340 million contract is suspended. And then, the moment no one expects. Crawford finds Austin alone near Hangar 6. The pilot looks different now. Smaller. His flight suit feels like a costume. He stands in front of the 19-year-old he screamed at, shoved, and humiliated in front of 100 people. And for the first time in his life, Lance Crawford has nothing clever to say. He looks at the tap hammer in Austin's hand. That flight today. The combat profile calls for a 6G pull at 420 knots. If that bracket had sheared... He stops. He doesn't need to finish. Austin looks at him. Steady. No hatred. No triumph. Just a 19-year-old who grew up too fast, holding a dead man's hammer. I wasn't trying to embarrass you, Captain. I was trying to keep you alive. Crawford stares at the boy for a long time. Then he does something no one on that airfield has ever seen him do. He extends his hand. I called you kid. His voice breaks. I should have called you sir. Austin takes his hand. The handshake is firm, brief. The kind of handshake that doesn't need words because the silence says everything. Somewhere behind them, a camera shutter clicks. That photograph, the decorated white pilot shaking the hand of the black teenager who saved his life, will become the most shared image of the year. But Austin doesn't know that yet. All he knows is that his father's hammer is warm in his pocket, and for the first time since James Bennett died, someone said the words that should have been said 10 years ago. You were right. General Cole does not wait for ceremony. He gathers everyone on the tarmac, military officials, Skyvault staff, engineers, deputies, reporters, and every camera still rolling, and he speaks. I have been in the United States Air Force for 35 years. I have evaluated hundreds of aircraft. I have signed off on billions of dollars in defense contracts. And today, the most important safety finding on this airfield
was made by a 19-year-old with a brass hammer and no shoes that fit. He lets that land. Austin Bennett did what a multi-million-dollar engineering team, a corporate leadership structure, and a decorated test pilot failed to do. He listened. He trusted what he heard, and he had the courage to speak when powerful men told him to shut his mouth. Cole announces 3 decisions on the spot. First, a full federal safety audit of Skyvault Aviation, effective immediately. Every aircraft, every process, every inspection log, opened and examined under Pentagon authority. Second, James Bennett's 2016 safety disclosure will be reopened. The FAA and the NTSB will formally review the original report that Boeing buried 10 years ago. A dead man's voice will finally be heard. Third, Austin Bennett is offered a full scholarship to the United States Air Force Academy's Young Innovators program starting this fall. Tuition, housing, materials, everything. Eleanor stands at the edge of the crowd. She hears the general say her grandson's name, and then she hears her son's name. And the two sounds together, the living and the dead, spoken with respect on a field that tried to destroy them both, break something open inside her that she has held shut for years. She weeps, not quietly, not politely. The kind of weeping that comes when justice arrives so late it feels like grief all over again. Austin walks to her. He takes her hand. In his other hand, the tap hammer. Sarah Williams is commended publicly for preserving the simulation data and recovering the notebook. General Cole offers her a position on the Air Force's Independent Safety Review Board. She accepts without hesitation. The cracked bracket sits in a sealed evidence bag. Someone has written on the label in black marker, "Detected by Austin Bennett, age 19. Method, tap test. Tool, JB hammer." Within 48 hours, Davis County, Alabama becomes the most searched location in America. The photograph hits first. Crawford shaking Austin's hand on the tarmac. The SV-1 grounded behind them. The tap hammer visible in Austin's back pocket. It spreads from local news to national news to international news in under 6 hours. By midnight, it has been shared 4 million times. By the next morning, 12 million. Then the video surfaces. A reporter's unedited footage. Austin tapping the wing, the thunk echoing across the tarmac. Crawford's face collapsing in real time. The clip is 90 seconds long. It becomes the most watched aviation video in YouTube history within a week. Comments flood in from every country, every language, every corner of the internet. The phrase, "listen to the thunk," trends on every platform for 11 straight days. People print it on t-shirts. Engineers tattoo it on their arms. A high school in Chicago names their robotics team after it. Austin Bennett becomes a name the world knows. Not because he sought fame, because competence, when it is undeniable, does not need a publicist. The fallout for Skyvault is swift and absolute. Federal investigators descend on the compound like a second military. The audit reveals what Austin's single tap only hinted at: a pattern of systematic failure. Falsified inspection reports, uncertified tools used across the production line, safety logs signed by engineers who never performed the inspections they claimed. A corporate culture that treated deadlines as sacred and human life as negotiable. Victor Hadley is indicted on 11 counts: fraud, reckless endangerment, obstruction of a federal safety investigation, and attempted destruction of evidence. His lawyers negotiate for months. It does not matter. The evidence is overwhelming. Sarah Williams' USB drive alone contains enough data to end his career 10 times over. Hadley resigns before the trial begins. He is barred from the aviation industry for life. His assets are frozen pending civil suits from the Department of Defense. Dale Perkins is terminated after body camera footage surfaces showing his handling of Austin on both days: the bruised arm, the throat of the gravel, the dragging across the tarmac. The footage goes viral separately. Perkins never works in security again. Captain Lance Crawford grounds himself voluntarily. He no longer calls himself a hero. He enrolls in a safety leadership program at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and begins speaking publicly about the danger of arrogance in the cockpit. In his first interview, a reporter asks him what he learned on that tarmac. Crawford is quiet for a long time. Then he says, "A 19-year-old kid saved my life because I was too proud to hear what he was saying. I screamed at him. I shoved him. I called him things no human being should ever be called. And he still tried to save me. I'll carry that shame for the rest of my life. And I should." The clip is watched 30 million times. Austin attends the Air Force Academy's Young Innovators program that fall. He is the youngest participant by 2 years. He does not struggle. He excels. Quietly, consistently, the way water cuts through rock. His professors call him gifted. His classmates call him Funk. He accepts the nickname with a small smile that looks exactly like his father's. 3 months after the incident, a letter arrives at Eleanor Bennett's trailer. It bears the seal of the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. She opens it with shaking hands. James Bennett, Employee ID 88-5124, Boeing Structures Division, is being added to the museum's Wall of Honor. Recognized at last as a whistleblower who identified a critical safety flaw, reported it through proper channels, and was silenced for it. His name will hang beside the names of engineers and pilots who gave everything for the truth. Eleanor holds the letter to her chest. She sits on the front steps, the same steps where Austin wrapped his bleeding palms 2 months ago. And she speaks to her son for the first time since his funeral. "They heard you, baby. They finally heard you." Austin Bennett did not have money, a degree, or a last name that opened doors. He had a brass hammer, a dead man's notebook, and the courage to speak when the whole world told him to shut up. There are Austins everywhere, in trailer parks, in housing projects, in towns that don't make the news. Young people with extraordinary minds, trapped inside circumstances that were never built to let them rise, told they don't belong, told to stay quiet, told to stay small. And there are Crawfords everywhere too, people so blinded by their own titles that they cannot hear the truth when it is standing right in front of them. Listen to the thunk. Not just in aircraft, in classrooms, in job interviews, in every room where someone with power looks at someone without it and decides, before a single word is spoken, that they have nothing to offer. The next Austin Bennett might be standing right in front of you. Will you hear him? If this story moved you, leave a comment, share this video, subscribe and hit the bell. Every story we tell here is a hammer tap against silence. Damn. A father silenced, a son humiliated. Same flaw, same skin, same silence. 10 years apart. Imagine that's your kid, your legacy, your blood on that gravel. Still think talent has a color? Like, share, subscribe.